Mabrika. Welcome, Soul Tribe, to this episode of Deep Soul Awakenings. Get ready to step into a place of visibility where your heart and intuition are your guides.
What's up, Soul Tribe? Welcome to this episode of Deep Soul Awakenings. I am your host, Millie Franco. I'll start by saying that I actually just recorded this episode, and something happened that didn't work. So here I am again, trying again. I guess that's a testament to what I wanted to talk to you all about. I know that right now things are feeling pretty heavy all around. At least I know for me they are. And it's feeling like I'm continuously being tested in so many ways to see if I'll give up my faith or if I'll continue to try or whatever the case may be. But I know that when it comes to transformation, when it comes to prayers being answered, when it comes to receiving the new life that we're asking for, many times we are made to feel uncomfortable. I am made to feel uncomfortable. And the same situations continue to pop up, different versions of them, same situation in the end. And I know that in those situations, I'm being asked to make a different choice, to go a different route, to make different decisions, to see where they lead me, to not making the same decisions. You know, you can't expect change if you continue to get yourself into the same situations and continue to make the same decisions, because essentially all you are is doing, you're just taking yourself in a circle. It's not even a spiral, it's just a circle. I find that transformation and life and living is more like a spiral where you may be going in circles, but within the circle you're just getting deep and deeper and deeper and deeper into the middle. And to me, that middle is the self. It is inward. It is you, the real you. Not the you that everybody tells you what you are. The you that you actually are, apart from all of the things and the stories and the questions and the perspectives and all of the things that this world tells you that you are. It's the real you. The you that you are fighting for. The you that you are trying to know and love, be, embody. I wanted to come on today to tell you all about an experience with death that I had recently. And first, let me start by saying no, I didn't almost die. It's more of death in the spiritual sense, more of experience in the clairvoyant, claircognizant sense, clairsentient sense. You know, as most of you know, I do a lot of work with my ancestors. I do a lot of work with spirits. I do spirit sessions where I help for people to communicate with their deceased loved ones, because I am a medium, first and foremost, before anything. It's a beautiful gift that I have been given, and I have the ability to bring closure, not only to the families, but to those who have passed. And every time it's a beautiful experience, and every time it teaches me something new. Something about myself, but something more about the beauty of life and love. So, in ceremony, I asked to sit with death, to have a conversation, to know her, to understand her, because the aspect of becoming a death doula has been coming up within my life, from my spirits, conversations, from my ancestors. You know, at first I didn't realize that I had so many preconceived notions about death and so many holdbacks and just things that made me feel uneasy. Death has been so prominent within my life. I've lost so many people that I've loved. You know, and even as I say loss, after this experience, I know that it's not a loss. They've been given a beautiful release. And in that release, I've been given more connection. So I asked to sit with her, and she came to me. She looks very similar to Santa Muerte. She was a skeleton dressed in red robes draped over her head and her body. She was beautiful, but one of the things that I note is that immediately when I felt her, she was this feeling of peace, of unconditional love, of silence, in a sense. And when I say silence, I mean silence from all the thoughts that continuously run through my mind. Because I am a person who is consistently thinking, I am consistently analyzing, I am consistently just moving, creating, whether that be good or bad. I noticed that there was a moment of peace. So I spoke to her and I asked her, why me? Why this work? I don't understand. You've taken so much from me. She told me that in order to know her, I had to experience her. And from there, I went on to experience, relive all of the deaths that I had experienced in my family, all of these people that I loved. I experienced the death of JJ, who I've mentioned here before. He was my brother from another mother. That hurt me because in that moment I realized how much I missed him. What the absence of his physical body was like in my life. What the absence of him has been like in my life. My mother's death, my grandmother's death, my friend Jason's death, family member Melissa's death, my ex Timmy's death, my friend Christopher Naglia. Beautiful person he was. And it was like I was just brought back to all of these memories and all of this grief. And sadness came back, and it was just so unbearable. And I kept telling her, this is horrible. Why would you want me to experience this? This is the worst. It's so painful. It hurts so much. From there, I went on to experience the deaths of my ancestors and the deaths that they experienced. And I found myself looking at beautiful babies, watching them pass, or holding their lifeless bodies in my arms, and there was just so much grief and sadness, and I experienced all of the grief and sadness of my ancestors and what they had experienced. And in that moment, I realized that there are so many ancestors that I missed, but I gained the memory of them. And I found myself in that moment being so grateful, because in that moment, I remembered them. In that moment, I remembered what their spirits felt like, what their love feels like. And from there, I went on to experience the different types of death within this world. I experienced everything from watching children die from cancer to watching people being blown up by bombs, to violent deaths, to deaths of sickness. And I could feel all of these things in my body. I could feel all of the pain. And I can tell you that everything in my body hurt to the touch, from the tips of my toes to the top of my head. My eyes hurt, my hands hurt, everything hurt. And it was so painful. And I cried out to her and I asked her, how do you do this? How do you experience this? How do you experience such sadness? How do you come to take the spirits of these people to the next place where they have experienced such atrocities? They have experienced such sadness. How can you witness this? How can you watch this? And she explained to me that it was an honor to her to be able to be the one who comes to release us, because she is our oldest friend. She loves us so unconditionally that she always wants to be the one who comes to give us peace, who comes to give us relief. She wants to forever be that familiar face in every lifetime that comes when we transition from our bodies, to be the one that helps us to remember and experience all that we are. She gave me the understanding that she is actually a beautiful ancestor who is connected to every single living being. She is an ancestor that connects us all. I asked her, is there anything ever beautiful? Is there ever a time where there is a beautiful experience of death? Because what you're showing me, this is too much. And she began to go over these experiences with me that I had experienced. She began to show me how for so many of those babies with cancer, yes, they are dying, yes, they are leaving their physical bodies, but in their short lives, they have brought so much love. They have brought so much light. They have brought people together. They have brought families together in love in ways that we can't describe. They have reignited passions within the hearts of people, given them reason to fight, a cause to fight for, a love to spread within the world. She brought me back to some of the experiences that I experienced within my past lives, and there was this one particular experience where I was a priestess and I was pregnant and my partner had passed away, and I was sending them off on a boat into the ocean covered in beautiful, beautiful flowers, giving them back to the ancestor of ocean, the ancestor of water, essentially, because our ancestor of water is the first ancestor we meet when we are in our mother's womb space. And it was a beautiful aspect of goodbye, a beautiful ceremony of goodbye. And I could feel the love within it, the connection within it. Instead of feeling it as a source of pain, it became a source of beauty. And then I was able to watch families saying goodbye to their loved ones, families being brought together, and just all of the beautiful unconditional love that comes along with all of that. And I don't say this to diminish any experience that anybody has experienced. But I do say this to say that with death comes a release from the things that we experience in this world, from the fear, from the anguish, from the pain. And in that moment I apologized to her, and I thanked her, not only for being there with me in every experience of death that I have ever had, and any death that I have ever had in any past life, because she is the comfort and the love in the room with you. But I thanked her for allowing me to understand more deeply what her purpose actually is, the love that she actually is. Now, I told her that I needed to understand what it was like to die. And there was this part of me that was scared, that was like, oh shit, I'm asking to die. Am I actually going to die in ceremony right now? But I trusted in her. And I asked her to show me what it was like, and I told her that I would have no fear leaving my body. But I trusted. And I found myself bracing myself for a moment, because I was like, oh man, is this going to hurt? What is this going to be like? Because I know for me, I tend to fear what I don't know, what I don't understand. But I surrendered to her. And in the blink of an eye, it was like all of a sudden I was released from my body, and I felt this beautiful peace, this beautiful joy, this beautiful love fill my spirit. It was like my spirit, my soul shot straight up to the stars in the night sky, and I remember looking around and looking at the night sky and being part of it and thinking to myself, oh my God, this is so beautiful. This is the most beautiful thing that I have ever experienced. And then I saw the cosmos and I became part of the cosmos. And then I thought of the mountains and I became part of the mountains, and the trees and the birds and the insects and everything. I was part of every single thing. And there was this joy within myself. There was this release within myself, this peace, this love. And I realized that that is what it's like. Death comes to bring you home, to help you remember everything that you are, to guide you, to love you, to nurture you, to show you that you are so much more than you could have ever dreamed. And I thanked her because she had already shown me so much. I've had experiences within my mediumship sessions where I have found spirits who are in this in-between space. You know, I say it's maybe another dimension where you can still perceive our dimension. You can still perceive Earth. You can still perceive your family members and see what's going on, but there's not as much light within this dimension. And since you are in an in-between space, you can also perceive some of the things that are actually quite scary, especially when you don't understand. And in my sessions, I've been able to help those spirits get to a door. And this door always looks different depending on the spirit, but I've noticed that it's always a door. And it's like when you cross through this door, you cross through to another dimension that I call the Summerlands. And it's this beautiful space where whatever it is in this lifetime that brings you joy, you can find it behind that door. And that is a space in which I find that all of the ones who have passed come to greet you, come to love you. The animals that you have loved that have passed are there. There's waterfalls, there's mountains, there's greenery, there's flowers, there's birds, there's everything beautiful that you can imagine. When you cross that door, you find peace. There's always beautiful things that they send me out of the door after that I have come to know that are signs for their loved ones to look for in their life, in their waking life, sometimes in dreams, so that they know that they are communicating with them. And I always thought that it was such a blessing to even have that information, to know that with my heart, that is true. I've also learned that there is also a light, but when you do go into the light, you are reborn in an instant into the body. And that is why there are so many souls who are born that remember their past lives vividly. But she also helped me to understand what it's like to release from the body, to be free, to experience, to be light, to be love, to be the wind, to be the earth, to be air, to be fire, to be at peace. And I thanked her. And I apologized and I cried and I told her that I was so sorry that I had been so angry with her. She told me that I didn't need to apologize, because in loving me unconditionally and loving all of us unconditionally, she understood. And I asked her, what can I do? What can I do to help all of these people transitioning? If you want me to help you, I am here. I am honored. She told me that she wanted me to sit with those transitioning and just speak to them about what I had experienced, to be a voice, to be that anchor of love. I agreed. I agreed wholeheartedly. And then she gave me the blessing of being able to see those that I loved again. And it was beautiful. So I say all of this to share her message, to share my experience, and to say that no matter what you're going through, it's always going to be all right. In one way or another, you're going to make it through. And I have the understanding now that to be a death doula is a blessing, because it is to help others release grief, to release guilt, to transition with trust without fear, so that they don't have to carry all of that with them into their next life, if that's what they choose, so that they don't have to get stuck in that in-between space, so that they can feel release, so that they can feel peace and love, so that they can be free. I wanted to share all of this with you with love in my heart. And I say to you all, if ever there is a moment that you feel lost, remember that you can look to the stars, and your ancestors will guide you home with love.
Ari Kamabu, thank you for listening to this episode. We look forward to continuing to find our way back to indigeneity with all of you. May your heart continue to be your guide. And remember that whenever you feel lost, you can look to the stars, and your ancestors will help you find your way back home.